The colony of Navarra sat on the edge of a jagged canyon, a harsh world where red dust blew constantly across metal buildings and alien flora stretched like twisted towers toward the sky. Jaren moved quickly along the platform, his boots clanging against the metal, wind tugging at his jacket. The storm had come faster than expected, a violent swirl of dust and energy that threatened to tear everything apart. He had been checking the energy cores when a sudden cry pierced the roar of the wind. It was high-pitched, scared, and fragile. Jaren froze. The sound didn't belong to any human. He knew it immediately. It was a child, but not human. His heart tightened. Alien children were rare on the colony, and they were delicate, especially this far from their home world. "Hold on. I'm coming," he shouted over the wind, sprinting toward the source. The cries grew louder, echoing from a collapsed support tower at the edge of the canyon. Pieces of metal twisted like paper, and sparks flew from exposed circuits. Jaren's mind raced. The structure could collapse further at any moment. One wrong step, and he could fall into the canyon, or worse, crush the child beneath the debris. When he reached the edge, he saw the child. Small, pale blue skin glowing faintly under the storm's light, eyes wide with fear, limbs trapped under a fallen metal beam. Jaren knelt carefully, testing the debris. The beam was heavy, far too heavy for him to lift alone. His fingers found a gap, and he tried to push it just enough to create space. "Stay calm, okay? Don't move. I'll get you out," he said softly. The child's large, round eyes blinked, trusting him even in terror. That trust fueled Jaren's courage. He grabbed a crowbar from his belt and wedged it under the beam, levering it slightly. Sparks flew and metal groaned, but it shifted just enough. The child whimpered, but didn't panic. Jaren's muscles strained. The wind battered him, dust blinding his eyes, but he ignored it. This child's life mattered more than anything. Finally, the beam lifted just enough for Jaren to slide the child free. He held the small alien gently against his chest, careful not to hurt her. The child pressed her tiny head against him, letting out a soft, trembling sigh. "We're not safe yet," Jaren said, scanning the area. The storm was stronger than before. Loose metal and debris swirled violently, threatening to strike at any moment. Jaren needed to get them back to the colony safe zone before the winds picked up even more. He adjusted the child in his arms and started running along the metal walkways, leaping over gaps and debris. Every step was dangerous. One slip, and both of them could fall hundreds of meters into the canyon below. Halfway back, a shadow moved in the storm. A predator native to Navarra, a massive, winged creature with scales as dark as night, swooped down from the cliffs. Its eyes glowed red in the dust-filled light. Jaren froze for a heartbeat, then spun, holding the child protectively. The creature shrieked, circling them, claws scraping against the metal beams. Jaren's mind raced. He had no weapons except the crowbar. He couldn't fight it directly, not with the child in his arms. But he could outsmart it. He ducked behind a broken energy conduit, hoping the predator would follow. The creature hesitated, confused by the narrow space. Jaren glanced down at the child. She looked terrified, but kept her trust in him. That was all he needed. He shouted, "Hold on tight," and kicked a nearby crate toward the creature. It screeched as it staggered, then turned away momentarily. Jaren bolted, ducking under a low metal beam, running faster than he thought possible. Sparks flew from exposed wires. The wind tore at his jacket, but he didn't slow. The safe zone was just ahead, a small reinforced bunker where humans and aliens could shelter during storms. They reached the entrance, and Jaren slammed the heavy door shut, holding the child against him. The wind howled outside, metal groaning, but inside it was calm. The child looked up at him, eyes wide but no longer full of fear. She pressed her small hand against his chest, a gesture of trust and relief. Jaren smiled faintly, brushing dust from her shoulders. "You're safe now," he said softly. "Nothing's going to hurt you here." He glanced around the bunker, noting the alien symbols etched into walls, remnants of the colony's efforts to honor the native species. Even in danger, the place felt like a home. The child blinked at him, then made a soft chirping sound. Jaren didn't understand the language, but the meaning was clear. She was grateful. That small gesture filled him with warmth. For all the storms, all the danger, he had saved her. He had proven that humans could be heroes, not because of strength or weapons, but because of courage, quick thinking, and heart. Outside, the storm raged, but inside the bunker, Jaren held the child, planning his next steps. He didn't know what dangers awaited them tomorrow, or what challenges the colony would throw at them. But he knew one thing clearly. This child was his responsibility, and he would do whatever it took to protect her. In that moment, with the storm pounding the metal walls, Jaren realized that sometimes heroism wasn't about glory or recognition. It was about standing firm when others fear to move, about using your mind and your heart to protect the innocent. And he knew he was ready for whatever came next. The storm had eased slightly by morning, but the canyon still roared with distant winds, throwing dust and debris across the colony. Jaren tightened the straps of his backpack and looked at the small alien child sitting quietly in the corner of the reinforced bunker. Her skin glimmered faintly in the dim light, and her large eyes, still wide from fear, studied him carefully. Jaren knelt to her level, keeping his voice soft. "You're safe here," he said. "I won't let anything happen to you." The child tilted her head, letting out a soft chirp. Jaren didn't understand the sound, but he could feel the meaning. Curiosity mixed with cautious trust. He smiled, brushing a streak of dust from her arm. "We'll get through this together." The colony was still dangerous. Structures were weakened from the storm, and scavenger predators roamed the outskirts. Jaren knew they couldn't stay in the bunker forever. They needed to reach the main colony hub, where the aliens' caretakers and human officials could ensure her safety. "Okay," he said, lifting the child gently. "Time to move." She nestled against him, small arms wrapped around his neck. Her trust warmed him. This wasn't just about survival. It was about responsibility. The route to the hub was treacherous. Twisted metal beams jutted from collapsed platforms, and electrical sparks sparked from exposed conduits. Dust swirled like a mini sandstorm, making visibility poor. Jaren moved slowly, one careful step at a time, scanning constantly for danger. Halfway along the path, a sudden noise echoed, a metallic screech, high and grating. Jaren froze. From the shadows, a group of scavenger drones emerged, sent by a rival human faction seeking rare alien specimens. They were small, mechanical, and armed with sharp cutting tools. Jaren gritted his teeth. There was no way he could outrun them carrying the child. He scanned the area and spotted a narrow metal walkway partially covered by debris. "Hold on tight," he whispered, adjusting the child in his arms. She chirped softly, pressing close. Jaren sprinted toward the walkway, leaping over gaps, ducking under low beams, and dodging sparks from broken conduits. The drones followed, whirring loudly, tools raised. Jaren's mind raced. He couldn't fight them head-on with the child in his arms, but he could outsmart them. He reached the edge of the walkway and grabbed a loose panel, slamming it down behind him. Sparks flew, and one drone tumbled into the dust below. The others hesitated, giving him a small lead. He continued, weaving through collapsed platforms and broken rails, the child gripping him tightly. At one point, he had to crawl under a metal beam. The child pressed against his chest, tiny arms clutching his jacket. The drones tried to follow, but the space was too narrow. Jaren emerged on the other side, heart pounding. Finally, they reached a semi-stable platform. He crouched, letting the child slide down beside him. She chirped happily, tiny hands brushing his arm in thanks. Jaren laughed quietly. "Not bad, huh? You did great." She chirped again, and he interpreted it as a smile. As they rested, Jaren noticed something remarkable. The child imitated his movements, mirroring how he brushed dust from her, how he adjusted her position to make her comfortable. There was a connection forming, a bond beyond words. He realized that she wasn't just responding to his protection. She was learning from him, trusting him not just to save her, but to guide her. Jaren took a deep breath. "We're almost there," he said softly. "Just a little further. You trust me, right?" She chirped affirmatively, pressing closer. That trust was everything. It was fragile, earned through courage and care, and he couldn't fail now. The final stretch was the hardest. A partially collapsed bridge loomed over a deep chasm. Dust whipped around them, and the metal creaked ominously. Jaren stepped carefully, testing each plate of the bridge before moving. The child clung tightly, her trust unwavering. One wrong step would be fatal. Halfway across, a strong gust of wind threatened to knock them off balance. Jaren shifted, pressing the child closer, and moved slowly, deliberately. Each step required focus, patience, and courage. At that moment, he felt something extraordinary, a sense of connection not only to the child but to the world around him. Humanity's ability to observe, adapt, and care gave him strength. It wasn't power or technology. It was ingenuity and heart. Finally, they reached solid ground. The main hub of the colony rose ahead, tall and reinforced, a place where humans and aliens coexisted. Jaren lowered the child to the ground. She looked up at him, chirping happily, her large eyes filled with relief and trust. Jaren smiled, brushing dust from his jacket. "See? We made it. You're safe now. I promise." The child pressed her small hand against his chest, a gesture of pure trust and gratitude. Jaren felt a warmth in his heart. This bond, they had earned it together, through danger, patience, and courage. He knew their journey wasn't over. Challenges would come, enemies would watch, and dangers lurked in every shadow. But he also knew something powerful had begun, a connection that transcended species, built on trust, care, and bravery. For the first time in days, Jaren allowed himself to relax. The child was safe, and together, they had proven that even in the harshest conditions, humans could act with ingenuity, courage, and heart. They had survived danger, outsmarted threats, and formed a bond that no storm or enemy could break. As they entered the hub, human and alien eyes turned toward them. Whispers filled the air. The child clung to him, a living symbol of bravery and compassion. Jaren knew that this was only the beginning, but in that moment, he felt something extraordinary. The strength of humanity, measured not in machines or weapons, but in courage, care, and heart. The storm outside still raged, but inside, a human and an alien child had found safety, trust, and hope. And in that bond, the first spark of something remarkable was born. The hub was quiet now, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Dust still swirled around the colony's edges, and the distant storm rumbled like a growling beast, but inside, the alien child and Jaren were safe. She sat in a corner, legs tucked under her small frame, eyes wide as she observed everything. Jaren knelt in front of her, checking that she was unharmed. "You did really well today," he said softly. "I'm proud of you." She chirped in response, a small, happy sound. Jaren laughed quietly. Somehow, her voice, though alien, made him feel calm and hopeful. Then something unusual happened. The child's glowing skin shimmered brighter than before, and tiny sparks of light danced along the floor. Jaren blinked in surprise. The child raised her hand, pointing toward him. Her eyes glowed golden, and a hum filled the room, low and vibrating. The sound resonated deep in Jaren's chest, making his hair stand on end. Before he could react, he felt a strange warmth on his shoulder. Looking down, he saw it. A dragon-shaped mark glowing faintly on his arm, curling around his bicep like a living symbol. The lines were intricate, as if they had been etched by light itself. His heart raced. What is this?" he whispered, staring at the mark. It wasn't painful, but it pulsed with energy, like it was alive. The child chirped again, stepping closer. She touched the glowing symbol with her tiny hand. The mark seemed to respond, glowing brighter and then fading to a soft, steady shine. Jaren realized that the mark wasn't random. The child had given it to him, or perhaps it had appeared because of their bond. It felt like recognition, a sign of trust and honor. His mind raced. He had heard legends of dragon marks among the alien species, symbols that appeared only on those deemed worthy, courageous, and protective. Could it be that the child had chosen him as a protector? The mark continued to shimmer, and Jaren felt a strange strength coursing through him. It wasn't physical power, but confidence, focus, and clarity. Every worry he had about protecting the child seemed lighter, every fear easier to face. He understood that this mark was more than a symbol, it was a responsibility. Outside the hub, alarms began to sound. The storm had shifted, and new threats were approaching. Rival factions and scavenger predators often took advantage of storms to raid vulnerable colonies. Jaren stood, lifting the child carefully. The dragon mark glowed faintly in the dim light, almost as if it were preparing him for what lay ahead. The child chirped urgently, pointing toward the windows. Jaren peered outside and saw the glint of metal. Drones approaching, moving swiftly across the damaged colony. They had seen the child, and now they sought her. Jaren's jaw tightened. The mark pulsed on his arm, and he felt a surge of determination. This was his responsibility now. Not just survival, but protection, honor, and courage. The dragon mark was a symbol, yes, but also a reminder that humans could rise to challenges that seemed impossible. He moved swiftly through the hub, scanning for tools and paths to defend themselves. The child clung to him, chirping, but her trust was unwavering. That trust made the mark feel heavier, more important. It was not just about strength. It was about heart, ingenuity, and courage. Jaren knew he had to act. He set up barriers, rerouted energy conduits, and used debris to create a defensive path. Every move was calculated. He was not a soldier, but the dragon mark seemed to guide him, sharpening his mind and instincts. The first wave of drones arrived, buzzing with mechanical precision. Jaren ducked behind a console, letting them pass while he guided the child along a safer route. The mark glowed steadily, filling him with confidence. He realized that the dragons the aliens had spoken were not just creatures. They were symbols of courage, trust, and protection. And now, a human bore that mark, chosen not by strength or heritage, but by action and heart. The drones regrouped, attempting to block their escape. Jaren's mind worked quickly, using spare cables and panels. He created a trap, redirecting energy to stun the drones temporarily. Sparks flew, metal clanged, but the path was cleared. He held the child close, whispering, "Stay with me. We're almost safe." The child chirped happily, and for a moment, Jaren felt a deep bond between them. She had chosen him. The mark had chosen him, and together they were stronger than any threat. The dragon mark pulsed faintly, as if acknowledging the courage he had shown and the trust he had earned. Finally, they reached a safe chamber deeper inside the hub. The child let go of him and chirped, pressing her forehead against his arm where the mark glowed. Jaren smiled softly, kneeling beside her. "I don't fully understand this," he said, "but I promise I'll protect you. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." She chirped again, wings fluttering slightly, if only in tiny gestures, and Jaren felt that the mark was not just for him. It was for both of them. Humanity had proven itself capable of bravery, empathy, and ingenuity, and now the alien child had symbolically recognized it. As the storm raged outside, inside the hub, a human and an alien child shared a bond sealed by trust and courage. The dragon mark glowed faintly, a reminder that the greatest strength did not always come from weapons or magic, but from heart, intelligence, and unwavering bravery. Jaren looked at the child and whispered, "No one can take this from us. Not now. Not ever." She chirped softly, and for the first time in days, there was calm. Together, they were ready for whatever challenges the universe would send. The storm had passed, but the colony was not safe. Dust settled over broken walkways, twisted metal, and shattered energy panels. Jaren moved quickly, the dragon mark faintly glowing on his arm. It felt alive like a guide, giving him focus and clarity. The alien child followed closely, her small hands gripping his jacket. Her trust was unwavering, and it gave him strength. The distant sound of mechanical buzzing reached them first. Jaren froze. He recognized it instantly, the scavenger drone sent by rival factions hunting rare alien species. They had likely tracked the child from the moment she had been rescued. Jaren's jaw tightened. Their path to safety was about to become deadly. "Stay close," he whispered. The child chirped softly, pressing against him. She had learned to trust him completely, and now he had to protect her more than ever. The drones appeared from the far end of the courtyard, their metallic bodies gleaming in the dim light. They moved quickly, claws and sensors searching for the child. Jaren ducked behind a half-collapsed energy tower, scanning for options. He had no weapons except his tools, and even those were small. But he had ingenuity, patience, and courage, human strengths that no machine could replace. He grabbed a loose panel and aimed it at the first drone, pushing it toward a small ditch. Sparks flew as the drone toppled into the debris. The others hesitated, scanning for him. Jaren's heart pounded. One mistake, and the child would be captured, or worse. He sprinted across the open courtyard, the child in his arms, weaving through rubble. One drone lunged, claws extended, but Jaren ducked behind a fallen metal beam. He kicked a small crate toward the machine, scattering its sensors. The drone shrieked and stumbled, giving him a few precious seconds. Ahead, a narrow walkway led to the main colony hub. It was their best chance, but it was fragile. Metal panels bent under weight, wires sparking dangerously. Jaren glanced at the child. Almost there. We can do this. She chirped, eyes wide but trusting. As they moved, another threat appeared, an alien predator, native to the canyon cliffs. Its scales glinted in the dim light, and claws dug into the broken metal as it lunged toward them. Jaren's mind raced. Two threats at once. He had to act quickly, using the dragon mark as a focus. He devised a plan. He ran toward the predator, drawing its attention, while the child ducked behind a sturdy console. The predator roared, swiping, but Jaren dodged nimbly, then kicked a metal panel into its path. The creature tripped and fell, confused. He ran to retrieve the child, pulling her close. The drones, seeing the commotion, advanced again. Jaren's mind worked like lightning. He grabbed loose wires and panels, creating a small trap that zapped the first few drones as they approached. Sparks flew, metal twisted, but the path cleared slightly. Every move required timing, calculation, and courage. They reached the walkway. Jaren tested each panel carefully before stepping. The child pressed tightly against him. The wind gusted through the broken structure, threatening to throw them off balance. One slip could be fatal. He steadied himself, letting the child hold on to his jacket. "We move together," he whispered. She chirped, responding as if to say, "I trust you." Halfway across, a drone lunged from above. Jaren swung a metal rod, knocking it away while keeping the child secure. Sparks flew, and the panel beneath them groaned, but they stayed on their feet. His heart pounded, adrenaline surging, but the dragon mark glowed faintly, steadying him, sharpening his focus. Finally, they reached solid ground near the hub's reinforced doors. Jaren slid the child down, and she looked up at him, chirping happily. The drones hesitated, unable to follow onto the reinforced platform. Jaren breathed heavily, scanning the horizon. The predator had retreated, recognizing that it could not reach them safely. Inside the hub, he lowered the child gently, brushing dust from her skin. "We're safer now," he said softly. She chirped in response, wrapping her small arms around his waist briefly. Jaren smiled, feeling the bond deepen. Every danger they faced had strengthened their connection. Even though they were inside, threats were not gone. Rival humans might try again, and the alien predator could return. Jaren knew he needed a long-term solution. He inspected the hub, finding reinforced rooms and secure shelters. Every door and panel was checked, every weak point reinforced. The child watched him closely, chirping softly, learning from his actions. As night fell, the dragon mark pulsed faintly, a reminder of the courage, ingenuity, and responsibility now resting on him. It was more than a symbol. It was a guide. Every decision, every calculated step, showed that humans could face danger not just with weapons, but with intelligence, heart, and bravery. Jaren knelt beside the child, holding her hand. "We've made it this far," he said. "Tomorrow we find a safe place for you, a place where no one can hurt you." She chirped softly, pressing her forehead against his arm where the mark glowed. He smiled. The bond between them had grown through every challenge, every threat, and every life or death moment. The night was quiet now, only the faint hum of the colony's energy systems and the soft breathing of the alien child. Jaren looked at the dragon mark on his arm and felt a surge of determination. This was his responsibility. He would protect her, guide her, and face whatever came next. Humanity had proven itself capable of courage, patience, and ingenuity, even in the harshest conditions. Outside, the wind howled, carrying distant threats, but inside, A human and an alien child shared safety, trust, and hope. Jaren knew that no matter what came tomorrow, they had faced danger together and triumphed through heart, quick thinking, and courage. He whispered softly, "We can do this. Together." The child chirped in reply, and for the first time, Jaren felt truly ready for any challenge the universe might send their way. The sun rose over the colony, casting warm light over the metal buildings and the jagged canyon walls. The storm had passed, leaving dust settling on twisted structures, but inside the main hub there was calm. Jaren sat with the alien child, small and fragile in his arms. Her skin shimmered softly, her eyes bright and trusting. The dragon mark on Jaren's arm glowed faintly, steady and strong, a symbol of courage, trust, and protection. The colony's leaders had gathered. Humans, aliens, and caretakers crowded the reinforced chamber, eyes wide with awe. News of the rescue had spread quickly, and everyone wanted to see the child safe and the human who had saved her. Jaren stood quietly, holding the child carefully, not used to attention or praise. The dragon mark pulsed faintly, and Jaren felt its strength fill him. It wasn't magic or power that made it important. It was the bond he had earned, the trust the child had given him, and the courage he had shown in facing every danger. The mark symbolized something humans often prove through action: ingenuity, patience, and heart. A senior alien caretaker stepped forward. Her voice was soft but firm. "This human has proven himself worthy," she said, gesturing toward Jaren. "He faced storms, predators, and danger that even our strongest guardians could not overcome. Yet he protected the child, earning trust and honor beyond what we expected." Jaren shook his head humbly. "I didn't do it alone," he said. "The child trusted me, and together we survived. It was teamwork, care, and quick thinking. That's what made the difference." The caretaker smiled, understanding that human strength was not just in force, but in courage, empathy, and cleverness. The crowd murmured, impressed. Even the most skeptical scientists and guards nodded in respect. Jaren had faced extreme threats, outsmarted mechanical drones, and navigated dangerous terrain, all with nothing but his mind, instincts, and determination. Humanity's strength shone brighter than any weapon or technology. The alien child chirped softly, pressing her small hand against his chest where the dragon mark glowed. The light brightened slightly, acknowledging their bond. Jaren smiled, realizing that the mark was more than recognition. It was a promise to protect, to guide, and to face challenges with heart and intelligence. The caretaker turned to the others. "Let this be a lesson. Humans may seem small and ordinary, but their courage, ingenuity, and empathy are extraordinary. This child's survival proves it. We must remember their strength." Jaren led the child to a secure chamber, where caretakers would ensure she was safe and comfortable. She chirped happily, exploring the space with curiosity and trust. Jaren watched her carefully, a warm sense of pride filling him. Against impossible odds, they had triumphed together. Outside, the colony was recovering from the storm. Workers repaired broken platforms, engineers patched energy cores, and scouts scanned the perimeter for threats. Yet inside, the focus was on one small human, and the child he had saved. The dragon mark glowed faintly on Jaren's arm, a symbol that humans had earned respect through action, not words. One of the senior scientists approached cautiously, eyes wide. "We have to study this," she said, "not to take advantage, but to understand. Human creativity, courage, and adaptability. These traits are remarkable. The dragon mark appearing is extraordinary. It shows that trust, compassion, and bravery can create bonds no machine or weapon could replicate." Jaren shook his head. "Don't overcomplicate it," he said gently. "We did what anyone should do. Care, protect, and think clearly. That's all." The scientist nodded, finally understanding that the human way of facing danger was unique and powerful. The alien child chirped again, and Jaren laughed softly. He lifted her gently, letting her rest on his shoulder. "We've made it this far," he whispered, "and we'll keep going no matter what." She chirped in response, pressing her small hands against his arm, where the dragon mark glowed warmly. As the sun set, golden light spilled across the hub. Jaren watched the colony, the child, and the workers rebuilding. He realized that the greatest triumph wasn't just surviving the storm or defeating drones. It was proving that humans could rise above danger with courage, intelligence, and heart. The caretaker approached Jaren again, placing a small, symbolic token in his hand. "For bravery and care," she said, "you have reminded us all of humanity's strength." Jaren accepted it humbly, looking down at the glowing mark on his arm. Together, the token and the mark symbolized what he had achieved: trust, protection, and courage beyond measure. The alien child chirped softly, tugging at his sleeve. Jaren lifted her, feeling her small weight against his chest, and smiled. The challenges were far from over, but he now knew that no matter what came, humanity's ingenuity, empathy, and courage could overcome any threat. As night fell, the stars appeared above the canyon. The wind whispered softly through the broken platforms, but inside the hub, a small human and an alien child were safe. The dragon mark glowed faintly, a reminder what they had survived together. Jaren looked at the child and whispered, "We did it. You're safe. And we've proven that humans can face anything." The child chirped happily, pressing her forehead against his arm, and Jaren felt a quiet triumph. The mark would remain, a symbol of courage and bond. And in that moment, he realized the truth of humanity's greatest strength. Heart, intelligence, and bravery could shine even in the darkest storm. The colony may have feared the dangers outside, but they now knew the truth. Humans, small and ordinary in appearance, were extraordinary when they acted with courage, care, and ingenuity. Jaren had proven it, and as he looked down at the child, safe in his arms, he knew that this was only the beginning of the human legacy on this alien world. Together, human and alien, they had triumphed. Together, they had proven that hope, ingenuity, and heart could overcome any challenge. The dragon mark glowed softly, a light in the dark, a symbol of humanity's strength, shining bright for all to see.